September 26, school officials from JFK filed a criminal complaint in reference to threats of violence, which was made via social media depicting an unknown person holding a handgun with the message of intentions to shoot up JFK. On Friday, September 27th, other threats were made to Notre Dame High School, Ukudu High School, and FB Leon Guerrero Middle School. Detectives from GPD's Juvenile Investigation Section were activated and had assumed the case investigation. In collaboration with the Federal Bureau of Investigations, or FBI, and through the course of the investigation, resulted in the identification and apprehension of a 16-year-old male minor in connection to the JFK threat. The minor was taken into custody and was confined at the Department of Youth Affairs late Friday night and charged for the following offenses: terroristic conduct, terrorizing, and assault on a police officer. The assault on a police officer occurred during the apprehension in which the minor assaulted the officers who were trying to take him into custody. On Sunday, yet again, another threat was made to Benevente Middle School. All the cases remain open and are continually being investigated by the Juvenile Investigation Section in partnership with the Federal Bureau of Investigations. We will continue to work collaboratively with the Guam Department of Education and all island schools in ensuring the safety of our students. All threats of violence made towards the community will be taken seriously and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We continue to encourage parents to be involved and engaged with your child in teaching them to make responsible choices and decisions. In addition, on Friday, September 27, 2024, a bullet was also found and confiscated from a student at Benevente Middle School. That case is also part of our ongoing investigation. Currently, to ensure the safety of our students, we have provided stationary assignments, and I have worked this assignment through the weekend with Colonel Joe Carbolito and the officers from Criminal Investigation Division. And I would also like to take this time to thank the Park Police officers for assisting us. We are providing stationery at the JFK Simon Sanchez campus, the Ukudu High and FBLG campus, and Benevente Middle School. We continually make periodic checks at Tizan and GW High School throughout the day. We'd like to thank the community for their cooperation, and we encourage anybody, especially those students who are aware of or who know who are these people or students that are making threats, to please call Guam Crime Stoppers or report it to one of your school officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I'd just like to add that we're working very closely with Guam Police Department through all of these cases to get to the bottom of them and bring the individuals responsible for them justice, and also provide the welcoming and caring environment that we really pride our schools on in presenting. I was at Ukudu this morning as students arrived. The process that's in place is really quite good for screening. Students are responding to that very well, cooperating with it. Police officers on site are working closely and engaging the students in a friendly way, so it's obvious that adults that are there that care about the safety and welfare of kids. Also, we've reassigned our school staff that's available to help with the screening and monitoring who's present on campus and who is not. I do appreciate the fact that several families and individual students have come forward with posts that they've seen and provided them to the police for us to help support the investigation. So at this point, we are working on keeping our schools open, safe, and at the same time try to assure parents that we are looking out for the safety and welfare of their children as well as our staff every day, every hour of every day.
Any questions?
So I know that you mentioned there was an individual apprehended for the JFK situation, but are there any other suspects identified in the other threats that were
I think it's safe to say that we have good substantial leads in some of the other cases, but we want to make sure that we continue our investigation and make sure that we do a thorough investigation.
And Superintendent, how have these threats impacted the agency's preparation for tomorrow's oversight hearing? And what news are you prepared to share with senators tomorrow?
For the oversight hearing, actually the agenda for that hearing is quite different than this, although we will be providing background information for the committee as of the hour right before that hearing. So the update that you're getting today will be expanded to the extent that we know new information. I know that there's a number of folks at both the local police department and the FBI that are working hard on this because they want to bring it to a close, and hope that by tomorrow we can do that.
And just shifting gears a little bit about the bag policies, can you just give us an update on what those bag policies look like?
The bag policies is to use either a net or a clear backpack. We do a bag search for those students that do come onto the campus. So there's two steps in this process. First, a metal scan, and then they go inside and we check the bags. So I noticed this morning that most students either didn't have bags or the ones they had were clear, and very, very few backpacks. I mean, obviously, we take the idea of a threat. Handguns can be concealed pretty easily, and we want to be sure that we don't have that. But we're using metal detection capacity and physical search as we bring people into the campus. Then we secure the campus and don't allow outsiders in at all.
Right. And I know that these bag policies are implemented for the safety of all the children and faculty and staff. But what would you have to say for parents who feel that their children are following the rules and that they have to incur added expenses to purchase mesh bags?
They don't have to purchase a mesh bag. Now, I've had that question posed to me by a student, and it's a fair question. It is an added expense, and that's a matter of personal judgment. What I can tell you is that if a student comes with a bag that's clear or mesh, that's fine. We can see what's there. But if all they have is a regular backpack or some other kind of bag, we're going to check it.
Pauly Suba, Glimpses of Guam, Chief of Police Ignacio. You mentioned charges are terroristic conduct, terrorizing, and assault of an officer. What does that look like in terms of confinement?
Well, we were dealing with the minor, so the minor was confined at the Department of Youth Affairs, and so all the reports will be forwarded to the Attorney General's office, and he'll determine what course of action will be next through the criminal justice system.
Will GPD be advocating for the individual to be charged as an adult? That'll be totally up to the Attorney General's office to determine. I'm not sure if the charges rise to the level of a 16-year-old being charged as an adult. In the past, has that been the case?
I'm not that I'm aware of. We're dealing with, I believe, felonies are probably the second degree, and I'm not very sure if this rises to that level yet. But again, that's for the Attorney General to work out and sort out and determine if he would like to charge this individual as an adult.
In the meantime, the individual will remain confined at DYA?
He's still confined at DYA, and just like any other case involving a person who's charged with a crime, they have to be brought before the judge for the initial hearing.
Understood. Superintendent Aaron Swanson, you had mentioned that these instances can lead to expulsion. So that is what GDOE is going to be advocating for, to expel students and other students that are found guilty of terrorizing, making threats to the schools?
That's within our policy options. Of course, we always review each case, but I take these kinds of instances extremely seriously. It's not something that we want to allow to get started in our community, and we want to bring an end to it as quickly as possible. So if we're going to expulsion, there has to be some other provision for education. That's federal law, but that does not have to be in our public schools.
What about keeping parents accountable? At what point do you start to look at parents to charge them with the crime?
You know, that discussion has come up many, many times in the past. This is not the first time the Guam Police Department has investigated threats made against the schools. You know, when we look at charging, you know, we look at the individual who made the threat. But, you know, again, you know, you bring up a good point about, you know, having parents also being responsible of knowing what their children are doing or their child is doing. You know, just as much as, you know, you need to know where your child is at all times of the day, you know, making sure they're not violating curfew laws and all that. So, you know, it's not something that, you know, it's within our toolbox to just go out and charge a parent or the parents of a minor who made a threat. You know, maybe sometimes the parents don't know. I mean, we have these threats are probably made on social media platforms, probably most likely using a phone. And so, you know, parents may not always have access to their children's devices. But parents should, and we encourage that, you know, they make sure that they know what platforms, social media platforms their children are on, and make sure, you know, that they monitor them, you know, for the safety of their child, and, you know, making sure that also they're not making these threats of violence.
Superintendent Eric Swanson, we lost the day of instruction for JFK, Simon Sanchez, and Bukadu. I'm not sure if there are others with the public school system, but how will you move forward with getting back those instructional days if we're already very limited from the last typhoon and also starting school late?
Those schools started on the August 15th calendar. There's still some flexibility in that calendar, and so we'll use that first.
I saw in a press release that possibly November 29th, the day after Thanksgiving, will be used as an instruction day?
That could be. We haven't made it. Obviously, we're working this situation first, and we'll worry about the makeup day when we get that accomplished.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, if I may, Chief, are there any other agencies that have been dispatched that are supplementing security?
This one is just the Guam Police Department, our patrol officers, and also the park police officers. They've called and they've offered their assistance, so we're taking advantage of that offer for assistance. So they're stationary at the schools.
And then, Dr. Swanson, if I may, are there support resources available on the affected campuses for students or, you know, or faculty that may be shaken up or negatively impacted?
Yes, we have our counseling staff available on all the campuses for that purpose. Well, and then other purposes as well, but that's their primary function.
All right, Chief, just shifting gears a little bit, I know that your investigators are obviously being kept busy with cases like these. Meanwhile, the public is seemingly being kept in the dark about an investigation involving a Dedido homicide involving Mr. Chaco. So can you explain why, and has GPD identified any additional deaths linked to this specific homicide?
Yeah, Destiny, we're going to keep the questions today for in line with this press conference, and we can take those questions offline.
Chief Pauly Suba, Glimpses of Guam once again. Can you talk about resources, costs that this has all accrued due to these investigations? And then also, Superintendent Eric Swanson, if you can also share the cost that has been associated with the investigation.
Sure. The juvenile section was activated. Our patrol officers were on duty at the time. But there are costs, personnel costs, but, you know, the costs that we incur for personnel doesn't equate to the safety of our students. So, you know, that's something that we'll calculate later. But, you know, for now, our focus is on trying to catch the other person or persons who have made the threats and make sure that we hold them accountable.
With regard to the operation of the school system, the tools that we're engaging are already built into our operational plan. They're already funded, and it's very difficult to break out an individual cost. when we go to longer hours of supervision, those kinds of things that might add up to some extra overtime hours, but we are not in that situation at this time.
Do you believe that if another instance like this comes about, that you have whatever's in place right now will suffice and not need to close the school unless it's more detriment to the safety of staff and students?
We have a mechanism that we use to determine the level of threat, and it's a very mechanical process to go through, but it can really give us a really clear picture of what the level of threat would be, and it's similar to, and it comes from Department of Homeland Security and FBI, and we use that mechanism to determine what level that we're going to operate at. We have the capacity to secure our buildings, to secure the kids, and keep them safe. We will do that. We've built that into our procedures for several years now, and we're going to exercise that. I don't envision, unless there is a more credible threat, we wouldn't consider closing again, because in all reality, sometimes this comes as from a game that says, let's see how much confusion we can cause as some sort of sport. It's not a sport. That's why we take this very seriously. That's why the Chiefs team takes it very seriously. It is the disruption of a public function. That's what terroristic activity is defined around. So you're interfering with the operation of normal government and society, and when you do that, it's a criminal charge, and we will press as a system to move that, as the chief said, to the fullest extent of the law. It's not a game.
Understanding that you have said many times recently that these are not pranks, that these are threats to the community. And so the last press release that you put out, and you have stated that you're looking for more assistance from the community.
That's correct. It takes all of us to do this work, and in that sense is what comes up in casual conversations when other kids are in your home, and it's like, oh really, what is that? It's time to say, this is not something we play with, and we need all of the adults, and I have to tell you that our student population is very, very responsible and responsive. They care very much about it because they don't want this kind of disruption in their life either. So we just need to all be sensitive to that and realize that what we value as a society, whether it's here on Guam or anywhere else, is the ability to follow the things that we want to do to build our lives. And when people come in and want to try to disrupt that, then that's not where we want to be. So I want to encourage, basically this is a see something, say something kind of a situation. And it takes everybody paying attention.
All right, Chief, can I get you to speak to, perhaps directly to the young people that may be watching this right now, whether, it's, as you said, maybe it's a grievance, a cyber prank, a copycat. We've seen this in the past. Speak to the young community about what law enforcement is thinking about and how they will be punished if they engage in this kind of activity.
The Guam Police Department, we monitor what goes on, not just on our island, but what goes on throughout the nation. And when we see that, as recently as maybe a month ago, a high school that was shot up, and I believe 4 people were killed, you can't take that lightly, even on our island of Guam as peaceful as an island. We believe we are, and we are. We are a very peaceful and safe community. But in light of events throughout the nation, we can't take things lightly anymore, and we can't just sit around and say, okay, it's just a prank. To the are extremely disruptive to the school community, to parents. This is an impact to parents, to the students. I believe last week they had to cancel football games. And kids put a lot of time and effort into getting ready for these sports events, all to have them canceled at the last minute because of a threat of violence. Parents have to get called out of work to go pick up their kids. Now they're left with having to watch over their kids for the rest of the day because their kids were sent home. So it has an impact. It's not just a school is shut down. there's a ripple effect with your actions. So, to those students who know of, who are aware of, who are making these threats, again, like I said, please call Crime Stoppers, or please come up to one of your school officials, whatever school you're at, and let's help each other out to bring a closure to this, so that we can get back, our students can get back their sense of safety and security in their school campuses.
Thank you, Chief.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
This is with Guam again. The way the laws are set up to deter something like this, do you believe that they need to be stricter, or do you think that they are working?
I think there's always room that we can look at improving some of the laws, because we're just charging laws that have been in existence in our books. I don't see anything specific to making threats to schools and to school campuses. So, there's room to visit, maybe amendments to some of our current laws.
And if these are federal charges, how does that all equate to the suspect as far as being confined?
So again, all these charges are local, and but we do have a partnership with the Federal Bureau of Investigations. They have been actively assisting us with these investigations. So at a point where they believe that a federal crime has been committed, then they would, I'm sure they will stand ready to charge these crimes in the federal court.